right?
Right.
So they were trying to find a way to get more.
Hey, I just wanted to let you know that Chair Jones is walking in the door, and I have started the recording if you want to press mute until we get started.
Okay, I'll do that.
I got you. I muted you. Until we officially get started. This is what you're missing, Terrence. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. I can mute you, but I can't unmute you. My bad. You are still muted, just so you know.
So I can explain it now.
There we go.
So
hello, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
Hello.
Black families don't give up their children.
Yeah,
By somebody.
they don't.
But
Right.
but but they're still
Overrepresentation.
okay.
Right.
Which means that there are kids in foster care who are looking for a family.
Yeah, they're looking for families. I mean, for all kids now, for sure. And so they developed One Church, One Child to specifically speak to African American adults to adopt children.
Okay.
Now, we are now in the year 2025, and so cross-racial adoption happens all the time. Matter of fact, there is a family on Instagram and Facebook, and their name is called Raising Cultures. That's the name of the thing. So the mom and dad had a biological daughter, and they have adopted a biracial biological son. They've adopted a biracial teenager that is the same as the daughter. And they've adopted a white little boy, Boosie. And I know his name because I love watching them.
Right.
And so they are one of the best examples of a transracial adoption. So they post and do all of that.
Terrence, remember I told you about the family? You asked me about a lobbyist too, and I said, are we unmuted?
So let's go. Can we get start?
We can get started.
I apologize for being late, and I've now since been drafted to pick up my niece because the doctor's appointment is run long. Got it. So let's go ahead and everybody's here. We're going to move to approve the agenda.
No, we got to call the meeting to order.
Okay, we've called the meeting to order. Roll call. Everybody's here. This is the executive committee, correct?
Yes.
That is
All
correct.
right. So approval of agenda. Who wants to make that?
I'll make I'll move the agenda.
All right. I'll second it, right? Because he can't. He can second.
No, he can't. You gotta.
So I'm seconding it. So it's approved, right? All right. Great. All right. Let's go to general public comment.
No.
Right here, you gotta approve for Terrence.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to move that we allow Mr. Watts to join the meeting. We have a quorum without him, but because of his unique circumstances.
All right, I'll second.
Welcome to the meeting.
All
Mr.
those
Watts.
in favor signify by saying
Aye.
Aye. Okay, there we go. Now we're at general public comment. There is none. Proposed additional staff. Let's talk.
So, if you will go to the second page in your document, we are proposing to add the additional staff position of Administrative Services Coordinator, 1 FTE, salary of 47 or lower. They're the associated benefits, so it would be a total compensation of 86. The 731 that would bring us up to the salary and benefits. We're currently at 13% admin.
Great.
This would take us to a little under 14%. And that's really my presentation. We did have a contract administrative specialist. She left, she needed to get a job with benefits, and she has since found that, and we were notified by our other administrative help that she will be leaving at the end of April. Hence my request.
All right. Any discussion?
Well, well, one, I wish I'd had this a little ahead of time, but because we don't have administrative staff, I guess that's why we did. $87,000 is not something I'm supporting. I brought for $15 an hour, I have sitting outside of my office 7 interns from Florida State, 6 from Florida State, 1 from FAMU, who are amazing. I brought one resume today that I don't know if they've hired or not, but I don't know why we're getting such quality people, but they arrive on time. They're brilliant writers. Some of them are master students. Now, they're not going to stay for, the rest of their life, but I think that there are better ways to skin this cat when it comes to getting meeting documents in order so that the 10 members of the council are well served, that you guys have somebody answering the phones, greeting people. I just think there are better ways of doing it, and it serves us well. We send them to committee meetings, they write reports. They do an amazing job, and they're with us, 6 months, and then they leave, and we train a brand new staff. So
Okay,
anyhow.
but Paul, we tried it that way. We've done the,
Yeah, I just don't know.
so if
How
we,
is
so,
it
so,
that
so,
we
but,
get
no, no,
such good?
but Paul, honestly, everyone deferred to your point of view on this before. We
Right.
have done this and it hasn't worked. We have not been able to maintain continual staffing in this critically important position. So now, respectfully, we did it your way. It didn't work. Can we now trust the director to now hire somebody? And I just don't think that everything that we do has to be on the cheap, particularly when she already has reported that we're under 14%. 15% is the standard. I know in human services that you want to keep your admin costs below 15% of your total revenue. It was the same way when I ran a not-for-profit, right? You always want to say we're still under 15%. But here now we can have the continuity of service, no different than these other great professionals we have. And we tried it the other way, and we found ourselves back in the same position again. So I think it's only fair, Paul, that we now think about trying it another way.
Okay, I appreciate your comment, and I appreciate being the one who can't support this, and I'll tell you why. For our internship program has been around for 12 years. For 12 years, we've tried it every single year, and it's worked every single year. I don't know where we're reaching out, but there are students who are really, I mean, they're phenomenal. That it's we had 125 apply for 7 positions. 7 positions. I mean, it was like, and they're one better than the next. So I look and I say, this is not about trying it my way or any other way. This is about $87,000, and $87,000 to me could go towards feeding children who are hungry, providing spots in after school programs. That's what it's about. It
Okay.
isn't about,
We get it.
Yeah.
Terrence, you got an opinion?
Yeah, I more so have a follow-up question for Paul. So with your intern process, who manages those interns in that process? Do you know that? Like who's
I do.
organizing? Who are they reporting to? How does that whole structure work?
So, because of the nature of our business, depending on, which vertical they're in, so we do it by floors. So any of the lobbyists can send them to committee meetings and what have you. But there is a person who interviews all of them and selects them and then they're assigned to the lobbyists.
Is it an administrative coordinator?
No,
No.
no, it's just, I mean, they're, yeah, it's, so there really is much managing of the, I mean, if it's the individual who needs the work who is essentially managing them. So there will be an insurance one, or there is an insurance one that will cover insurance committees for me. But by and large, they're there though. And we have runners on top of that, but again, maybe we're just this very lucky entity, but all around town, any of the large firms, and that's law firms and lobbying firms, utilize FAM and FSU students and get great results.
Sika.
I have 3 interns. They are in programs, data, and communications to fill those gaps. So I did want to say that. And so each of those persons, Holly is coordinating, she coordinated their interviews, but each of those persons is responsible for that intern and they're in that office.
Okay.
They have a line of work to do. They cannot function.
Well, let me ask you this. Maybe let me ask a question about the position itself. I'm sorry, Mr. Watts, go ahead.
Yes, Terrence.
Yeah, Sika. And we've been here before with this topic, and I'm remembering one of our last council meetings, it was Ms. Marsteller was like, hire one. Let me ask you, are you able to articulate the barrier, if there's any barriers around the temp option? I mean, are you proposing that with the temp person and the responsibilities that you get them at a certain space with all your duties, and then if they're leaving, you're kind of having to start over from scratch? Like, is it some type of workload barrier? Is it like some, like, walk me through the difference of, because I know like you have one right now, she's a rock star, right? That, you know, I know personally. She's the one leaving?
Yes,
Okay.
Shalonda is leaving us at the end of April.
Okay, so like walk through what okay, go for it.
So I want you all to think about what Jacinta did when she was in that position. When Jacinta was in that position, we did not have to worry about anything administrative. She took care of it, from managing operations for the building, for being an assistant in fiscal for Dina, for helping me manage my schedule, for ensuring that our board packets were done. And it was still kind of hard because it was still, you know, just 3 of us trying to get all of that done. It really is helping us to manage this entire entity. If we did, and so I feel like we did it the way that you suggested, and I get that. But every 6 months to have to retrain someone on how we do everything, we already don't have staff that can be dedicated to that. And so from my perspective, if I get someone trained on how we operate and then 6 months later they're gone, then we have to spend the time retraining again, and we just don't have the staff that can continue to do that. And so while I understand the investment, but if we get somebody in here who is dedicated to doing it, I think that overarchingly, it will be an investment that basically pays for itself, because we have that continuity. We know they're going to be around. They feel like they are compensated for the work they do. And it is a professional administrative person who does that for a living. That is what their gift is.
So, okay, let me ask you this, and that was going to be my question was, what exactly are you looking for? You're essentially paying somebody a little more than $21 an hour plus benefits. That is a very attractive salary. But by the way, our full-time support staff folks, that's basically what they make it at the state. They have better benefits, but they make a little bit less to begin. And I heard you say 47,000 or
And
less.
that's on the, yes.
Right. I heard. I'm not painting my picture to build to know. I just, to me, it has less to do with this position and more to do with the position that we as a council are taking on managing, $8 million a year or $77.8 million a year, and spending a lot in, and I appreciate what you're saying in terms of administration, but real dollars of salary plus our overhead. And I know you assign things out to programs, but it's still, it's still a lot of money. I think it's more money than I'm comfortable with. Having said that, you're suggesting that you're going to take the 86,193, assuming we hire this person at 47,000, and take it out of what we gave you as your. Okay. I am very uncomfortable with this, and I don't think, I appreciate the fact that what Mr. Jones is saying, we tried it your way. I don't know that you tried it my way. I also am not sure that it's, I don't have to work here, so it's a lot easier for me to say. Yeah, but I appreciate Eric.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your point of view, and I appreciate where you're coming from in terms of stewardship. It is a common thread for all of us. I'm for taking this to the full board. Mr. Watts?
Yes, and I'm actually in favor of I think that, we often reference the concerns about, not getting packets enough in time and X, Y, Z. And I think I've heard Ms. Green articulate that this would assist with that. I think breaking it down to what Jacinta did in that role is helpful. If there's I'm in support of you getting the position under those pretenses that it will, assist with things. I just would also recommend that it's still an option to explore the interns as well, like it not be an end all. You get the FTE or whatnot, and then like all those things off the table. I just still flexible. I don't even know if OPS. I know we're operating under family resource. Go ahead.
Mr. Watson, let me just say this. When we talk about the administrative coordinator function, the reason interns don't work, we expect an administrative coordinator, no different than in your office, my office, particularly those who are in government, to be able to fill out the appropriate forms, who know the process, know how to manage, because that person will ultimately be held accountable for reimbursements, tracking of expenditures, all the rest of that. And that's not something that you give an intern or potentially a person who's not going to be there long, because we all know that when you don't have a strong administrative function, that's how programs get in trouble. The expectation is too great in that position to rely upon interns, because we're expecting them to be able to do everyone's travel information, do the reimbursements, do all, and manage they're also going to be taking care of the procurement function. I can imagine ordering supplies and the like, and managing keeping track of credit card expenditures. All that stuff is a part of the administrative coordinator function. So I'm with you if you're talking about the position, but interns, we know you can't rely upon students to manage that type of stuff because they don't have that type of experience.
And so I think I'm getting closer too. I appreciate that, Chair Jones. Let me ask you this right here. The two temporary positions you have now, Sika, or had, administrative support, what was the total? What were they making?
Oh, goodness. Dina is on and can pull that. And so they weren't temporary. I do want to clear that up. They were contracted. So we were taking some of the contract dollars, and what we did was we split it because it's a lot to ask a contract person to do what we were asking them to do. So we split it and did one for operations and one for administrative. We were asking a lot. And so while the administrative person definitely had come along, she just felt like to be, what's the word? Invested. There was more that she wanted to be invested in the space, and she needed those things. So, Dina, can you pull what we were doing? I want to say maybe about 2,500, 3,000 a month.
Okay, so while Dina's looking that up, then if you were to get this FTE up to the 47, would we still need the flexibility for the contract dollars that we gave you to still be able to use without coming to us?
Not for this function. I am willing, and not willing, that is not the right term. I am totally okay with taking this money out of the 199,000 that you guys gave me. I think it was 190 or 192. I am willing to take that out to be able to cover this function because we need it that badly.
Great.
We have interns, we pay them a stipend because for them, they get the experience. So they get a little stipend, like $250 for the semester that they are with us. And then we're able to use the other contracting dollars when we need the videography and the podcasting and the various things that we need to showcase what we're doing.
Is the 192 per year?
Yes. And that is exclusive of the money that we pay our lawyer and our accountant and our special projects manager. No, our special projects manager is in there, and so that's covered, but it is exclusive of the lawyer and the accountant, and there's one more.
So that would go down by $87,000. So it would be at 105.
Yes.
Whatever that number is.
Is that an option, a solution?
Yeah, here's how I feel about it. It is not a matter of, I don't want you to have support. When you create a position like this, here's what happens. Very much like what happened with Jacinta. They look around and they're like, I want more. It's not just a matter of I want more in benefits. I want benefits. I want more in life, And if you're hiring someone like Jacinta, who is so qualified, you want them to move. You want them to have, a way to go up. Well, after about a year, they start to get frustrated because they're doing administrative work only, and then you sit and you're like, well, we're not getting any more, program administrators. So you're either in this position, whatever it's called, the administrative manager, or you're on looking for a different spot. And it is not unusual at all that you're retraining someone after a year and a half, maybe even as many as 2 years. It happens with every business, and that's a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing for them. I get it's not easy for you. You'd like them forever. But by the way, you'll be giving them a raise. It's like it sort of takes on a life of its own. So I appreciate you gave me my time to speak, and that's how I feel. But it doesn't come from a position that I don't think you need it. I just think that we have grown. There are a lot of people working for the Children's Services Council in one capacity or another, period.
All right, Chair, you're going to just recommendation is to move it to the full board.
Vote. We'll just.
I'll make the motion that we move it to the full council for a vote.
All right.
That keeps you
Second.
out of the motion. Right.
All right. Been properly moved and second. We'll forward this to the full council. Next, we have strategic planning updated framework review.
So you guys have the strategic planning updated framework that we provided at the last meeting. We were asked to make a couple of augmentations so that you could read it and understand it clearly. I did want to give it to this committee just so that you have it as you contemplate strategic planning updates that we need to do before the end of the fiscal year,
All right.
so that we get our plan in place. I believe it was Mr. Mitchell that suggested that we wait to do that updated strategic planning until we get our appointments.
Yeah.
Um,
I did just an update on that. I did reach out to the governor's office, and ours is in the process. So it's, which is good news, because at the end of the year it wasn't. So
So are we gonna give this to the full council just to chew on before
We're
we?
just gonna keep giving it to chew on, to think about. I don't think we've gotten any input thus far. And the biggest thing that we need to do with this, so I will tell you, when the team has looked at this, this really is our strategic plan.
Okay.
We need to update it, look at what we've done, look at where we might want to go, but most importantly, SMART goal for each of these areas so that we can be making sure that we are capturing metrics to achieve those goals.
How many appointments do we have to make?
Technically, it's
Three.
three.
It's 3 more.
Technically, we do have two, so Mr. Mitchell and Mr. O'Brien applied for reappointment.
Oh,
there are 3 positions open,
so how many?
two of whom,
how many-
two of which are currently filled, and
So,
we
so
can,
we're just missing one person.
right.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right. I was about to say 3 more.
No,
Okay.
not 3 additional.
2. Okay. Got it.
Well, I mean, it could,
It could be.
could be 3
But
additional.
yeah, but yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Got it. Is that good for you too? That's good for you? We'll just
Yeah.
share for information purposes. Because I mean, there has been the interest. In fact, I think this just provides us with a great update.
Mhm.
Reading documents when we bring when we finalize this, then we maybe can take a Saturday like we did.
I was going to
before.
say, we really do need another Johnny session. Because yes, we will have up to 3 new board members, but we do have 2 new board members.
Right.
So that's
all the more reason.
at a minimum, we're going to have 3 if you
Right.
count those 2.
Right.
And I just think that I really think that's more important than anything else that we do.
I love it. I think the
We've got a
discussion
good
comes.
starting place.
And we got a great starting place, and those of us who are currently on, and then the new folks can get a chance to read it and to look at it and digest it, and then we'll then come up with, out of this committee, once everybody's in place, this committee will then come up with the framework for the strategic planning process. Is that good with you, Brother Watts?
That is good. And Chair Jones and Treasurer Mitchell, Ms. Sick, I do have a possible recommendation for that around when we have that session.
Mhm.
It continues to come up, and then even with the new members, so I'm likely even the newer members, around how we're capturing the data, right? And I'm just wondering if with the strategic plan that you guys have right now, will you have a way to weave in that discussion showing how it's going to likely tie into being measured and the system that's going to be used, whether that's an overview or whatnot? I think it's going to be helpful so that conversation can move on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the short answer is yes. That has to be a part of it, but we've got to get to what our goals are.
Mm-hmm.
And then you determine what the metrics are you're measuring to get to that goal. Each of our RFPs have metrics in there, but the metrics are only there to say, research says that if you can get to 85%, that means you're moving the needle. The problem is we don't have the SMART goal that attaches to the metrics that we're capturing, so that we make sure that the metrics we're capturing lend to the achievement of that SMART goal.
Okay.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. Is it out of? Okay.
No, and so that is why as we look at the strategic framework and get to the SMART goals that fit in with each one of those larger categories, then it helps us to know when we're reporting a dashboard to you, these are the metrics that go to this SMART goal. This is where we are making movement or not making movement.
Okay. And last piece on that, if it's not out of scope, you know, I think Mars Stiller, you probably have several folks who have an expertise on that. I think we hired 1 year somebody to come in. I don't know that we need another person hired for the session, but maybe consider reaching out to Mars Stiller. And I bring that up because she might be able to support how we weave in what you guys have presented here into strategic goals to help maybe that conversation move even faster. I just feel like you have a lot of talent on your board that you could likely capitalize on. And maybe we can move that conversation from the data and what that looks like.
So I don't know that we necessarily need to hire someone, but
Okay.
I will say that it does work better when there's an outside facilitator to allow everyone to have their conversation. So what I wouldn't want to do is have Councilmember Marsteller facilitating when she has a very strong opinion and a lot of experience on how we should move. And I'd want her to be able to operate in that space fully. But I don't
meet with her beforehand. I mean, I'm suggesting meet with her beforehand. I'm not saying form another committee, but I just mean meet with her beforehand and get a vision, not get a vision, but, you know, pick her brain to help move that needle. I'm not asking for her to facilitate I'm just remembering the last lady that facilitated, which did a great job, but I think we did pay her something. And I don't know that we necessarily need that. I don't know that we need that. So that's all I'm saying is that might help move it faster. And we can cross that hurdle. That's just an opinion I have.
No, agreed. I agree. So we will begin to think about when we want to do that. When we want to hold that session and then have pre-meetings with the council members prior to.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Not just her, but all.
That's what I said with council members prior to strategic plan.
Yeah.
Which is what it was Alice Lee Stansbury. She did that with each of you beforehand as well.
Yeah, she did. I mean, I remember the conversation.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, one quick question as we talk about very talented council members who have things to offer. When was the last time that we cast the net for participants on the RFP and RFQs and ITNs and when was the last time that we did a big push to the community at large?
I feel like we're always doing that.
Yeah, but when do we do a push? I know I guess it's open, right? It's on our website.
I would say before this RFP, we did a big push because this is the only RFP we've done all year. So we did a big push before this RFP and tried to be very thoughtful about who was.
And you think that this evaluation team represents the community at large?
I will go so far as to say, I think this evaluation team has done no offense to anyone else, has done a better job at the review of these applications than any other team we've had.
I bring this up just again on this, and I shared this with Polly yesterday. One of the evaluation committee members is essentially on our payroll. And I struggle with, if she's so needed in the community, how was it that we were able to ask her to dedicate so much time? Again, we're paying someone to be an evaluation committee member. Nothing against Ms. Leland. I'm sure she's very competent, but it seems to me that if we're casting a large net, we need to cast it a little further than the Family Resource Center.
Well, she's part-time. so she's not full-time in her job.
Right.
And
Well, Holly shared with me that that essentially that that they allowed her to do it on her time, that Children's Home Society did.
I
Okay.
can't speak to that.
All right.
But what I will say is I appreciated having her on that panel.
I don't want
Considering-
to, I don't want to single her out. This
Well,
was not meant to.
let me say this. I appreciated and I saw the value in having someone who functions in one of our biggest investments on the panel, given the work that she's done in the community. I did think about that, but because I knew she was part-time, then it did not bother me, the hours that would have to be put in reading all of the applications and, what have you. But I hear your concern.
I'm still a big advocate for these 10 very talented people that sit on the council. And I now know more about the Family Resource Center than I would have ever known because of having sat through both the evaluation and the negotiation. And I just think that I think it's important for one, keeping council members fully engaged, and two, improving the quality of the outcomes.
How does it improve the quality of the outcome?
How does it improve? Because well, one, we have 10 very talented council members that represent they don't want to do it, they don't have to, but represent a different part of this community, all 10 of us. The second thing is that when council members have questions and they can look to a fellow council member, or there's someone there at all times to say, well, here's what the rationale was. And I used the Family Resource Center, which at the time, it was about to be voted down. But because there was a council member on that negotiation team that said, here, let me throw something out to you. Let me throw an idea out before you just shoot this down. The other committee members, I think, were willing to listen to me. And I think it kept what is a very, very worthwhile project alive. So that's an outcome. Having the Family Resource Centers, I think, is a good outcome. I don't think we would have had a recommendation to move it forward. In fact, I know we wouldn't have if it weren't for a council member being on there. So I think it improves the outcome in many different ways, but that's a specific example.
But we always want to provide that opportunity to council members. I think in this case, we thought we had one, and unfortunately, that council member had other obligations that was going to keep them from being.
I don't remember getting it like any other council members being like throwing it out to any other council members. And that's, again, I just throw it out there. And it's more important to me that members of the community, whether it's, all members of the community, I think it helps educate people of the important things that we're doing. If they're not involved in any of our activities, but they're the ones paying for our activities, I think it tells a good story. That I shared with Holly. I about fell out when I saw Frank Shaw here. I was like, what are you doing here? And I'm not saying the entire evaluation committee needs to be made up of Frank Shaw's, but I think he's a respected voice in the community, and he now has an appreciation for what the Children's Services Council is doing. I think, yeah, having an occasional Frank Shaw on it, or Francine Shaw.
He was on our ITN committee.
He was on the negotiation team for the Family
negotiation
Resource Center.
team,
How do we identify?
highly regarded.
How do we
yeah,
identify?
A lawyer.
A lawyer, yes, I'm sorry.
How do we identify?
He just came through, I think, Holly thought I put him up to it. He was
We put a big call out though for the.
So what do you do
ITN.
the call? For representation. So So the community was made aware that there was an opportunity to serve in this capacity, and they respond.
Yes, and then we also have a list that just kind of builds and builds and builds.
And then you probably look to
We
people
have the
who,
city send it out to CHSP, people who have done that. So we try to cast as wide a net as we possibly
Okay.
can. And as you know, you all know, it's a lot of work. And I will say, to your point, Councilmember Mitchell, it is nothing like serving on that committee and the appreciation you have for the work that is trying to be done and the decisions that you all ultimately have to make. It doesn't become an easy decision anymore after you've had to do it. So to your point, yes, sir.
You learn a lot. I just think you become a better council member. I did. And this is coming from someone who really had a lot of questions about the Family Resource Center. And in the end, I was very comfortable advocating.
good.
Oh, yeah.
You good, buddy?
Good.
All right. So we're now at the next meeting date. Did y'all not enjoy this? This executive committee meeting.
I enjoy every meeting that I can have with you, Mr. Jones.
This guy.
The
This
man
guy.
walks in giving me a hug.
I
needed a hug
but
today.
we have not seen one another in
It
like
has been a while.
forever. So I was like, hey, Paul, Terrence, it was great seeing you the other night.
Yes, sir. I have a member comment, so we might want to.
All right, we're at
So we
member
should be-
comments. Yes.
We will figure out what it is. It'll be we won't have one in advance of our March meeting because March is early. It's March 5th, and this is our meeting in advance of that meeting.
Okay.
Our next one, as you have requested, will be in advance of every meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, Dina, as long as I see you there, I would like to get together with you regarding our upcoming Finance Committee meeting so that we have something prepared for the members of the committee. It's, as Mr. Jones says, it's been a while.
Yes, sir. I'll send out some dates so that we can coordinate a time to meet.
Thanks.
It's gonna be hard for him. He's busy.
March 20th.
This time of year.
Is that next finding? Okay.
Do you remember comment, brother?
Yes. I think it was something you mentioned, Chair Jones, prior about us as the committee either getting together with SICA, just bonding, meeting X, Y, and Z in a different type of setting, maybe more frequently. I can't remember, but I would recommend that we maybe get something on the books sooner than later, so we can do that. I would look forward to doing that with the four of us. That was one thing. And then the other thing I have been thinking about, and this is nothing, that we need to discuss detail today, but I'm just putting it out there. I have been thinking about the raise situation that came before the council for SICA. And, the whole discussion around the, FRS, those benefits, how they calculate into that and X, Y, and Z. And Commissioner Cummings kind of position around maybe following what the county, I didn't know if there was an appetite down the road to, if you will, since these are taxpayer dollars, Leon County taxpayer dollars, if there was an appetite for any like future contracts to maybe we model what the county has, model what the county, equivalent positions are based on salary. And, maybe that kind of removes some of that in the future around, if the county's doing a raise that is just kind of consistent with the Children's Services Council. But I just was throwing that out there. I didn't know if there was any appetite to even look at that.
So in that case, Mr. Watts, it would be then the benefit package and the retirement package would not be for a senior management position in state government, but rather what a county manager would make.
Yeah, I mean, that could possibly streamline.
Should say stay where you are.
But yeah, and I don't know what the county's insurance is. I didn't know if it's equivalent or if it's similar or whatnot. So, okay. That was it.
Thank you, brother. You got
Hey,
any member comment?
the only member comment I have is I'd love to get together as long as we are not talking about council business.
No.
That's the only thing that would be
Right, we're not, that's not, that's
violative
not.
of the, yeah.
Correct.
But yeah, then I could learn more about the adoption process.
You wanna adopt me?
I don't want to adopt you,
Oh,
but I
okay.
would like to consider.
All right, well, if all hearts are satisfied, folks, thank you so much. Again, I apologize for being late. This is time well spent, and we'll get that on the books very soon, Mr. Watts.
Right.
I
Thank
look
you.
forward to our bread. Cool Beans is my favorite spot, might I add.
The
Okay.
partner on school, the building.
So we're
Not the
adjourned at
restaurant, yeah.
6:02.
Yes.
All right. So we are
Are we
officially
adjourned?